There are a few days in a calendar year where sports takes a back seat. Today is one of them. Welcome to Bill-ievers Talk. My name is Joe, and welcome to a very special edition of Bill-ievers Talk, this Veterans Day edition of Bill-ievers Talk, where we say thank you to our military, whether the men and women of the past or the men and women of the present. We want to just say thank you for all that you have done for this country. Again, sometimes sports, football has to take a back seat. I know if you're a Bills fan, you're upset about that loss yesterday to the Cleveland Browns, and we'll talk about that tonight in my post-game edition. But right now, it's about thanking the veterans. I'm wearing my red, white, and blue. It just so happens to be Bills as well, but I'm wearing my red, white, and blue in honor of the veterans on this Veterans Day. And I thought, since this is mainly a football channel, what better way to honor our veterans than talk about some of the veterans who actually played in the NFL. So that's what we're going to be doing. Not only do I want to say thank you to the current active men and women veterans who have served our country. I come from a military family. My dad was in the military. All three of my brothers joined the military. My brothers served in Afghanistan. So again, I just want to say thank you. And my uncles who have served in the military as well, thank you to them. So again, if you have members of your family, if you know anyone who is part of the military, make sure you thank them on this day. Best way I know how to thank all the veterans is by shooting an episode here on Bill-ievers Talk. And again, we're going to go over some of the veterans who served, who actually played in the NFL. Some great stories here, guys. Some you might have heard of, some you might not have heard of, and I'm happy to bring those to you on this Veterans Day. So we're going to start with the active players. There are actually two active players in the NFL right now who play in the NFL, and we're going to work back from there, okay? So I'm going to start with the two active players, and first on the list is going to be Joe Cardona. Joe Cardona, even though as a Bills fan you want to say that you hate the Patriots, sometimes there are players in the NFL, no matter what team they play for, you can't hate them, and Joe Cardona fits this bill. Okay, Joe Cardona does play for the New England Patriots. He's the long snapper for the New England Patriots. He's been there since 2015, was drafted in the 5th round by the New England Patriots, making him the second highest drafted long snapper in NFL history. But prior to him being drafted in the NFL, he actually went to college at the Naval Academy over at Navy, and so he has spent lots of years actually with the Navy. He actually still is serving in the Navy Reserves as a lieutenant. He does meet the requirements for the Navy Reserves. They have requirements too, and he puts football aside during the off season. He makes sure to meet those requirements. That includes being a supply corporal officer in the Korean Peninsula just in 2018. So still spending time abroad, still spending time away from his family to serve our country. There's something great about that we really just have to thank and say, hey, you sacrificed so much for us that we just want to say thank you. He joins another former Navy Naval Academy athlete who we'll talk about in this episode, or football player, should say, who we'll talk about in this episode, as the only two-time Super Bowl champs. He has won 2 Super Bowls with the New England Patriots. Again, we know he plays for the Patriots, and we want to just like him. So just like him on Sundays when he plays our Bills, but this good guy, and again, currently serving the Navy Reserves as a lieutenant. Just nothing bad to say about Joe Cardona. Thank you for your service. We move on to the second guy on this list, a guy that many of you might have heard of. He had made the news a couple years ago, and again, I'm not trying to get political here, but I want to talk about Alejandro Villanueva. I apologize. He is currently an active offensive lineman for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but prior to his time with the Steelers, he actually was deployed 3 times in Afghanistan from 2010 to 2014. He went to Army for college. So after you're done in either Army or Navy, you do have to meet requirements before you can go out and do whatever it is you want to do, whether it be in the NFL or whatever it is. He was awarded the bronze medal twice, actually, bronze star medal during his three deployments to Afghanistan between 2010 and 2014. After the deployments in 2014, he came back home, tried out at defensive end for the Eagles, did not cut it for the Eagles, so they actually drop him. And the Pittsburgh Steelers pick him up. They say, you know what, you might not be working out defensive end. Let's try you on the offensive side of the ball. And this is not the only military veteran who has played for the Steelers. We'll get to some more here in a little bit, but currently plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and again made news not too long ago for standing in the tunnel for the national anthem. So great veteran here in Alejandro Villanueva, and we say thank you for your service. Moving on to number three. Number three is a guy that some of you might have heard of, not as well known as the name as some of the other guys on this list, but Mike Anderson, former running back of both the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens from 2000 to 2007. He was an NFL running back, but prior to his time at running back in the NFL, he spent time in the Marine Corps, and that experience in the Marine Corps actually helped him become an NFL running back. He spent a few years in the Marines where he played on some sort of Marine. Again, I don't know the whole story, but he played football while in the Marines, spent some time in a junior college, and then he found himself in Utah, at the University of Utah Ute for 2 years, and then after those 2 years, he was then drafted by the Denver Broncos to be an running back in the NFL, and in 2000 he won Offensive Rookie of the Year. So Mike Anderson, we thank you again for your service. The fourth name on this list, this is a name that everyone should be familiar with. If you're not, I'm happy to bring his name to light for you guys, but he's someone that's honored every year during the ESPY Awards, and he should be for all that he did. Pat Tillman, former safety for the Arizona Cardinals from 1998 to 2001. Just a really heartbreaking story, a great story, but really heartbreaking one at the same time for how it ends. But Pat Tillman was an Arizona Cardinal safety from 1998 till 2001. After the attacks on September 11th, he decides that he wants to quit the NFL. That's right, he quits a luxurious job like the NFL to join the Army Rangers. He joins the Army Rangers in 2002, and from 2002 to 2004, he serves a few tours in both Iraq and Afghanistan. He was drafted in the 7th round in 1998 by the Arizona Cardinals. Again, spent 3 years with them before he moves on to the Army Rangers, quits his job, moves to the Army Rangers, enlists, and then serves tours in both Iraq and Afghanistan between the years 2002 and 2004. Unfortunately, in 2004, he gets shot by friendly fire, and he dies, unfortunately, due to his injuries. And again, if you haven't read the story, if you haven't heard the story, I would really highly recommend it if that's something you're into, especially on this Veterans Day, just to read up on Pat Tillman and all that he did, and what happened, the situation in Afghanistan that led to him being shot by friendly fire. Really sad, and you hate to see a young man go. He was born in 1976, passed away in 2004, so obviously a young man at the age of 28 or 27, I apologize. But since his death, the number 40 has been retired both in the college that he attended and with the Arizona Cardinals. So a great honor. Unfortunate comes because of the death of a young man. But again, thank you for his service. Thank you, Pat Tillman, for all that you did. And just to think about someone who is willing to quit the NFL to defend this country, that's just something that we all wish we could say that we would do one day, is defend, whether it be your family, whether it be your country, whatever it is, at all costs. And he definitely gave up a lot to do that, and then ended up giving up his life in the process as well. But we thank Pat Tillman for his service. Moving on to number 5. Number 5 on this list is Chad Henning. Chad Henning was an offensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys from 1992 till 2000. He graduated from the U.S. Air Force in 1988. He was deployed twice in the Persian Gulf in 1991, and he was twice awarded the Air Force Achievement Medal for his deployment time in the Persian Gulf. And then he came back to play in the NFL again, being an offensive lineman from 1992 till the year 2000 with the Dallas Cowboys. Again, the Dallas Cowboys, a team that Bills fans, we love to hate, but you can't hate on a guy like Chad Henning, who spent time serving his country and then came back to play in the NFL. So again, thank you, Chad Henning, for your service. Moving on to number 6 on this list is going to be Bryce Fisher, and some Bills fans may remember the name Bryce Fisher. And why is that? Because he was drafted by our Buffalo Bills in 1999. Bryce Fisher is drafted by the Buffalo Bills, went to Air Force Academy. After his time in the Air Force, he spent 2 years in active duty in the Air Force, and he spent 9 years in the reserves, where he actually still spends some time today with the Air Force as well. So really have to commend him for his service in the military. After his 2 years of active duty in the Air Force, after 2001, he rejoins the Buffalo Bills. He plays for 5 different teams from 2001 to 2008, including the Seattle Seahawks, who go on to play a Super Bowl in 2005. So he's on that team. So congratulations to him, and thank you for your service, Bryce Fisher. Again, 6th on this list, and we thank you for your service, drafted by our Buffalo Bills. 7th on this list is a guy that many of you should know. He's a Hall of Famer, and he's not the only Hall of Famer on this list, but he's probably the most recognizable name, and that's the quarterback, or old quarterback, for the Dallas Cowboys. You're talking Roger Staubach, right? That's an old name. Some of you love that name. Great Hall of Famer. That's great NFL career, including a 2-time Super Bowl champion and a Super Bowl MVP in Super Bowl VI. Cowboy quarterback from 1969 to 1979, a 6-time Pro Bowler, joins the Pro Football Hall of Fame class in 1985. And then you want to talk about his years of service. He served in the Navy for 3 years. In 1965, he volunteered for a 1-year tour of duty in Vietnam, and then in 2018, so just recently, he was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So not only was Roger Staubach a great quarterback, he is a great American who spent time serving his country, including time over in Vietnam. So Roger Staubach, first of all, congratulations on a great NFL career, but more importantly, congratulations and thank you for all that you have done for this country. Moving on to number 8. Number 8 on this list is, give me a second, I have it right here. There it is. Rocky Bleier. Rocky Bleier was a halfback at Notre Dame. And you want to talk about a crazy story? Get ready for this story. This is a really neat story. He was drafted in the NFL in 1968 by the Pittsburgh Steelers. In 1969, he is drafted. He goes into the draft, and he is drafted by the U.S. Army in 1969. In the Army, while he's serving tours in World War II, he loses part of his right foot. He lost part of his right foot in an ambush while in Vietnam. Or I'm sorry, not World War II, in Vietnam. And he loses part of his right foot. Came back and played for the Steelers anyhow. Doctors told him after he lost part of his right foot that he'd never play football again. Owner of the Steelers, Art Rooney, at the time says, well, we want to bring you back anyway. You can say what you want about Art Rooney as an owner, but you have to commend him here. Really fought hard to make sure that Rocky Bleier did not let doctors discourage him. Brought him back to the Pittsburgh Steelers, where he spent a few seasons as the special teams, and was also the halfback behind Franco Harris during their Super Bowl run for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Played until 1980 at that point, so he was medically discharged from the U.S. Army in 1970, and then he plays a 10-year career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, playing on special teams and as a backup halfback to Franco Harris, and he goes on to win 4 Super Bowl championships with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Rocky Bleier, first of all, again, thank you for your service and congratulations on a great NFL career. Glad that those setbacks didn't stop you. We want to talk about a great story of perseverance. Again, great story to read if you want to read something like that. Again, loses part of his foot due to an ambush. I think it was a grenade that blew up near him, and he loses part of his right foot. And as a running back, you lose part of your foot, you're thinking you're done, right? And doctors told him he would never play football again, but then he has a 10-year career with the Pittsburgh Steelers, winning 4 Super Bowl championships in that time. Rocky Bleier, thank you for your service, and again, thank you for all that you have done for this country. And then last on this list, here's the World War II veteran that I was talking about, Chuck Bednarik. I'm probably going to mess up that last name as I keep pronouncing it, so I do apologize. He was drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles in 1949. And you talk about some of these players being 5th, 6th round draft picks, and you see them going down the scale as far as their NFL careers. Well, this guy in 1949 was the #1 overall pick in the NFL draft. So he wasn't a scrub or anything like that. This man knew how to play football, and he was the #1 overall draft pick by the Philadelphia Eagles in 1949. And not only did he play, he played both offense on the offensive line and defense as a linebacker in the NFL. Joined the U.S. Air Force out of high school, flew 30 combat missions over Germany in World War II, 30 combat missions into enemy territory during World War II in the Air Force, and then he is drafted in 1949 by the Philadelphia Eagles. He enjoys a 13-year career, talking an 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time NFL champion in 1949 and 1960 prior to the AFL-NFL merger and the Super Bowl that we know today. The Eagles did win championships back in those days as well. And then he was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame class in 1967. So that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, 1967. So to Chuck Bednarik, who passed away March 21st, 2015, we say thank you for your service. And to all the men on this list, we say thank you for your service. And to all you men and women who are watching, who are veterans, to anyone out there watching who knows a veteran, again, make sure you say thank you on this day. I just went through a list of 9 NFL members of the NFL, I should say, who spent time in the military. There's many more I am sure that I am missing. So again, I thank you for your service, whether you played in the NFL or you didn't play in the NFL. That's not important here. But what is important, that you served your country, and we appreciate your service. You spent time away from your family, your friends. You made sacrifices that a lot of us don't have to make. So again, thank you for your service. Happy Veterans Day to all, and I wish you all the best. And again, before we sign off here, again, I just want to say thank you one more time to our veterans. And again, join me tonight as we do our post-game wrap-up. Again, sometimes football takes a back seat, and this is one of those days. But we'll talk the post-game of the Bills-Browns game from yesterday where the Browns win. But that's not important here. Again, a very, very big thank you to our veterans. And again, I hope you guys do the same thing. I look forward to talking to you all soon. Until I do, go Bills.